Howdy, folks. Danny with Bulldog Smith Farms and DannyLink's calling. And I thought I'd just jump on here. I just did a live video on Bulldog Smith Farms. We talk about knives over there and life, and we talked a lot about prayer and stuff today over there on my EDC knife channel. A lot of good folks, a lot of people telling things that they had going on, and so it was a blessing. It's a blessing every time. I'm telling you, the community is amazing. They helped me get through a whole lot of, hard days when my health was really bad, and couldn't do nothing, but study on knives, and that helped a lot. But then the people in that community really helped me a lot. And so I thought I missed the launch. And this is a big deal. We sort of just, it's another rocket launch. No, it's a little more than that. And so I thought I'd just come on and talk about it a little, and thought I would at least just show the launch. And I think I'll turn my thing down here. Try to turn the volume down where I can just watch it, because it's like 12 minutes long, and I'll just watch till it gets about to where the launch is, and then I'll maybe pick the phone up and show it. Y'all can go look at it, but why not? And I've got Artemis over there on TV right now playing live. I wanted to do this for the last couple of days. I wanted to come on and talk about this. There's a lot of, oh, that's it right there. Okay, hang on. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so they pretty much the video starts just a little bit before it takes off. So I lost my wedding ring today. I've lost so much weight, and I think it just flew off around here somewhere. So we'll find it. It's got to be right here. I ain't been nowhere else. Like I said, we talk about knives and outdoors and farming and all kinds of stuff on Bulldog Smith Farms. And on DannyLink's calling, I pretty much have reserved that for, I talk about Jesus everywhere, but, things that are more political in nature, because everything is these days. Discussions about end times, Bible studies, all that kind of thing. Because YouTube does not know how, they don't know how to put you out to people if you do more than one topic, apparently. So I figured I'd just split it up then. So sometimes I post stuff over here about a cool knife. I posted, I had these down because guys wanted to see them. I posted stuff about this knife over here specifically, and I will maybe come back to that here at some point, because the etching on this is Lord of the Rings, and I love sci-fi and all that kind of stuff, and I love the Lord, and most people, I would think, know, but maybe you don't, that Lord of the Rings, the author was Christian, and it's very scriptural. It's definitely written from a scriptural basis. And this is a brand new knife that I just got with a cool Damascus blade. First American-made Damascus blade I've had. I have another one or two but they're Chinese, and it's different. So we had a launch. with folks on it, and they wasn't just going to the space station. And Russia didn't have to take us there. That's a bigger deal than you might think. And it gets political, right? Why haven't we been back to the moon in 50 years? 50 something, I think. Well, there's some good reason, and there's some not good reason. Depends on when you're talking about, right? So we went to the moon before I was born, or right right around that time. Like I was just a baby, right? During all of that, I was just at best I was a little baby. So I'm 59. And I know there's people out there that say we didn't go and all that stuff, but I'm not even going to get into that. I think that hurts the feelings of the guys that went. They're like, we were there. I was listening to a scientist today, and he said, you know, they placed laser refracting mirrors on the moon, and scientists bounce lasers off of them all the time. So we know they're there. They didn't get there by themselves. But I digress. So my childhood memory that I was old enough to remember was the space shuttle. And it was a big deal. It was a really big deal. I remember we would go out. We were at school when they launched. They would take us outside. I grew up in Florida, so they'd take us outside to see the launch. And they did that way on into them launching space shuttles. But I remember the first one. And I remember the one that blew up because with the teacher on it, because I was on the, I was at the airport. I was 18, all of 18 years old, and I was at the airport in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina as a young Marine, and I was about to get on a plane to fly to the Philippines. And we're waiting for the launch. And they were literally calling it like last call for boarding. And we were like, we got to go. And it had taken off and it exploded. And I didn't know for sure what happened for weeks. When I got to the Philippines, got the address, and was able to send my mom a letter that took like a week to deliver, and her write me a letter and send it back to find out exactly what had happened, that it had exploded. And they lived in Sebastian, Florida at the time, which is a little above Vero Beach. And so, maybe 100 miles south of the Cape, and everything that takes off from there goes to the southeast. So when that thing exploded, it was basically straight east of Vero Beach. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, my dad was running a drag line and thought a nuclear war had started, because it was so loud. The explosion was so loud that he thought, my God, what's happening? He got off his machine and had to go find a phone. You know, we didn't have cell phones back then. Barely had pay phones. But this is my Hinderer, by the way. And this one that I was showing you is a Defiant 7. and it's the first one I've ever got, and I love it. Um, it was a giant thing that happened in my life. It was kind of like my mom and dad. They were young. They were in elementary school when Kennedy was assassinated. Middle school. I think my mom always said elementary school. That would have been 63. That should have been middle school, maybe. But them sitting in class when they said that President Kennedy had been shot. Everybody remembers where you were at these certain kind of events. And that was one of them in my life. So we were doing a space shuttle. And so they went from go to the moon, pour money in to go to the moon. We'd been to the moon. What are you going to do on the moon at that point? And they made decisions to move into the space shuttle, launching satellites. You know, we had all these satellites to launch. And we like seeing people go into space to do this stuff as opposed to rockets take off and they drop a satellite up there. And, you know, this has happened many times, and we probably haven't even paid attention to these rockets taking off. But when there's people going, you pay more attention. And they built the space station. And so, you know, that was a focus there. Build a space station, send people into space to see how people handle long periods of time in space. So it's moving you forward, you know, to some extent. And people start questioning, why are we spending all this money going to space? I don't know if people know this. They would not have cell phones if we hadn't went to space. There's many things, computers, cell phones, technology, things we eat, all kinds of stuff, scientific breakthroughs, medications that we would not have had if we didn't go to space. So, hey, I'm not for the government spending money, but exploration, that is a job big enough for the government to do. Now, I think we're finding out now that people like Elon Musk, he's doing it way better than the government's been doing it, right? But there's some reasons for that. So the space shuttle program, they were wanting to wind it down. They thought it would be better just to launch things on rockets instead of the expense that it cost to launch a space shuttle and then land it and reuse them. And you know, and we had a couple accidents that takes people's lives. Now, you know, when you hook a dadgum rocket under your butt and you're going to space, you're risking your life. You're risking your life if you get on a plane, risking your life if you get in a car. So we know if we're doing things like that, extreme things like that, and extreme fighter pilot testing and stuff, people's lives are at risk. This is part of exploration and moving forward. We should understand that. It's going to cost lives sometimes. A lot of things cost lives sometimes. Are they worth it? You know, we're in a war over there now that, you know, we never want to call anything a war anymore, but it's a war. And some people think we shouldn't be doing it at all. Some people think we should be doing it even more. Some people in between. And a lot of that has to do with what age you are. So when you grew up, and the things that have happened since then, and a lot of it with Israel has to do with faith, and you know, when you say faith, that doesn't mean one thing. It's a wide array of different beliefs, even within Protestant Christian church. So we're going to have different views. I like to think we can discuss these things and have calm, rational discussions about them. Is there evil in the world? Yes, there is. Is evil worth fighting? Yes, it is. Do we have to stand up and disagree vociferously at times? Yes, we do. But we fight over things we really shouldn't be fighting over. We fight over things that maybe we have strong feelings about, when we should be having debate, even, strong disagreement. We could come together and talk about it. If we can do that, it solves a myriad of problems, y'all. Conversation, communication, discussion is way better than fighting, hating, because you know where that leads. It leads to the things that you say you hate now. You hate war. You don't want us going to war. You don't want us fighting for other people, all this stuff. Well, guess what? Fighting and yelling and screaming and never listening to the other person's point of view and thinking maybe they have a point and maybe I'm wrong. You may not be wrong. They may not have a point, but just having that attitude goes a long way to being able to deal with our fellow human beings. In the Bible, they're called neighbors. Love your neighbor. If you love people, it's hard to hate them just because they think differently than you. Even when, when their thought is there's no such thing as a God. I think you're foolish. But do I think you have a right to believe that? Well, yeah. God gave you the right to believe even that he doesn't exist. He gave us freedom of choice. And if he gave us that, I'm not going to take it from you. I'm not going to take your right to say what you think. One side of the political aisle has been, and these were the people who, all my life, who said freedom of speech when it came to filthy lyrics and music, which I kind of enjoyed at the time. And I think people ought to be able to sing and write music of whatever they want. You don't have to listen to it. Don't listen to it. If you don't want your kids to listen to it, do the best you can to keep it away from them. That's about all you can do. And the same people that were fighting for freedom of speech, when it come to pornography, when it come to filthy lyrics and music, when it come to all other kind of things, and things that, hey, I, at the time, said, I may disagree with you. And at the time, I'll tell you the truth, I didn't disagree with none of that. Oh, Danny didn't disagree with none of that. The pornography, the filthy lyrics, oh, Danny liked that stuff. New Danny don't like that stuff. Jesus made a new Danny. So, I'm not going to tell you, hey, you don't have the right to do these things that I know are bad for you, because I know they were bad for me. But you have a right. You have a right to do the wrong thing. Our Constitution was not written that way, though. People use our Constitution to say they have the right to do the wrong thing. Our Constitution was written, read a little bit of history. It was written so you had the freedom to do the right things, because the Crown said you weren't allowed to worship God unless he said you could, and the way he said you could. This is a big part of what our entire revolution was over. The king, not having a king that could tell you that you couldn't do what you saw fit, that you saw as righteous. They were not purposely fighting for your right to be sinful, criminal, and do all kind of debauchery. Now, it kind of leads to that, and it has led to that. So my views changed a little bit on that. But I've always said, and I'll still say, I may disagree with you, but I will fight for your right to say what you believe, even if I totally disagree with you. And I've seen that not be the case on the side of the aisle that always yelled freedom of speech. And now it's turned into freedom of speech I like. And you don't have to defend speech that people love. If everybody loves it, nobody has to defend it. The Constitution was written to protect speech that the powers that be don't like. The powers that be are in Washington. They're in our state capitals. They're in our city councils. They're at our school boards. They're in our churches. They're in the media. They're now in Hollywood and the music business. These are the voices that have the power to be heard and to shut down voices and say they can't be heard. Who's the biggest at doing that? The government. And recently, in collusion with big tech companies, social media companies. They are the common marketplace of ideas today. They're like the newspaper. They're like the news used to be. Television. We've moved into now it's all on the computer and social media. And so they think they have the right to tell you what you can and can't say. You don't have a right to say that. You don't have a right to believe that. They're the free speech guys, right? Did they ever believe any of that? Or do they just believe in freedom of speech or stuff they like? They say they're about diversity, but only of color of skin and immutable characteristics, not diversity of thought, diversity of speech. This stuff's important. So why'd I go there? Well, because this stuff started, we can go all the way back to the garden, y'all. You can just keep going back in time when this evil started. But in our country, we made a hard turn. We've been creeping to the left. When a Democrat gets elected, we run to the left. When a Republican gets elected, we slow down. We don't quit going to the left. We're still going to the left. We just slow down. And they still get their way. Because the people we think, we've thought were on our side, they're not. They're on the same side as the other people. Because their side is what keeps money coming in their pocket.
Staying in high Earth orbit for the remainder of this.
So, money going into their pocket that's their God. They're going to find out one day that wasn't the best God in the world to have. And I said this then, and I'm just going to say it again. We made a hard turn to the left when we elected Barack Obama. I understand why people voted for him. I understand a lot of people who even called themselves conservatives thought it's time for a black man to be president. It's going to be historic. It'll be a wonderful thing. And that's all they thought about, right? I was over here going, hey, y'all, this guy has a, he didn't just fall out of the sky. He has a past. He has views. He has a history. I know he just like, oh, bam, there's this guy all of a sudden. Who's this guy? Oh, he's black. He looks nice. He talks nice. Right? A lot of people got caught up in that. Didn't do a bit of work to find out who is this guy? Where did he come from? Who does he know? Who is he surrounded by? What's he done in the past? What are his beliefs? People still don't want to admit the guy's not a Christian, y'all. He's a Muslim. He's born a Muslim, raised a Muslim. If you ask him about Jesus, he gives you a Muslim answer. You ask him about his faith, he gives you a Muslim answer. He just couches it in Christianity and went to a church for 20 years and apparently never heard anything the preacher said because the preacher is a communist and anti-American communist. He never heard nothing he said, apparently. Because I know more about what the guy said than he admitted he knew. That's why I did this over here. I'm doing this over here on this channel. Because, you know, on my knife channel, I just like to keep it nice. Light. Jesus is welcome everywhere in my life. But we made a hard turn. And if you knew anything about the guy's past, you'd have known that. You would have known. He's an Islamist. He's a communist. He's an Islamo-fascist communist. This is who the guy is. It's always who he's always been. The very first phone call he made as president was to the president of Turkey, who has done nothing but turn that. Now it's called Turkey. It's not Turkey anymore. And it's been becoming more and more and more Islamic every day. The people there used to have freedom. They have less freedom. Less and less all the time. Talk to somebody in Turkey. They'll tell you. Don't take my word for it. Get on and talk to people in Turkey. I talked to a guy from Russia today on my live. Talked to two guys from Turkey last week on my live, and a guy from India that I've been emailing with. Because I want to know what's going on around the world, what people are thinking, what's happening, what's really going on where they live. This young fellow wants to know about Jesus. He grew up a Hindu. He's an atheist now. He's kind of interested in this Christian thing. What's going on with that? What's the history of it? He don't know. He's never been exposed to it. I may be the only Jesus he ever meets. So I'm gonna tell him the truth. So we elected a guy who believed in everything that's anti-American, anti-Constitution, and everything that is Islamic and communist. And those people are working together now. Now, they'll kill each other later once they think, they've won. They'll kill each other. Y'all, people, if you're listening to this just steaming, because you believe all the stuff that's going on that side, when they're done with you, they call you useful idiots. They call you that for a reason. And when they're done with you, just read some history. Look at Russia. Look at Germany. Look at China. Look at Korea. Look at Cuba. Look around the world. Look at Venezuela. That's really, really recent. Hey, everything's going to be free. Everything's going to be fair. It's going to be socialist. It's going to be wonderful. And the next thing you know, the people don't have food to eat. They're eating dogs. They've ate every animal in the zoo, and they're digging in garbage for food. This happened just right here, right down the road, recently. This ain't long ago. Barack Obama loved that guy, the communist. He was just a socialist too, wasn't a communist. Barack Obama flew down there, had meetings with him, loved him, read his book, had his book. Oh, you look, I've got his book about communism. Hard turn. away from God towards Satan, because Islam's satanic, y'all. That's not God. That's not God. I know everybody now wants to, well, it's different if you're a Muslim or as an Islamist. I know, I watched Glenn Beck. Dude, when the Islamists win, the ones you're saying are just Muslims, they'll stand there and watch them kill you. They won't be fighting alongside of you. If they got a choice to make, they're going to step over there. You ever been in a job and everybody's complaining about the boss, and then they say, hey, you say something, we'll back you up. And then you step out there and say something to the boss, they all step back. I'm just telling you, this stuff's coming. Europe is right now in the grasp of it. The Muslims realize they've got some control, and the mask is coming off. And people there are finally waking up and going, oh my God, what have we done? What have we let our government do to us? And they've been doing it to us here too. You know where all these Somalis came from that been ripping the government off? And Dearborn, Michigan's now Islamic country, and we've got little Islamic countries popping up all over the country. You know who started that? Well, you can talk about George Bush. Do that. Because that dude's crooked too. And he calls himself a Christian. Look at what but there ain't no doubt with Barack Obama. He's one of them. He brought millions of them here. Would not allow Christians to come out of the Middle East when they were being slaughtered. He would not allow them to come out of the Middle East. Would not let them come here. Glenn Beck and charities that he worked with flew all kinds of Christians out of there. They didn't want to leave their home, but they were being slaughtered. They want to go back, because that's the home of Christianity and Judaism and Islam, which is just a pilfering of a few ideas and a demonic twist. You know, Muhammad, before he realized it was the angel Gabriel in the cave with him, he thought it was a demon. It was a demon, y'all. So we made a hard turn. And at the time I said this country is deciding to go that way. And we did. And when y'all elected him, not y'all that agree with me, not y'all that understand, but when America, y'all, elected that dude for the second time, now you could kind of, you should know what he stands for, what he's doing. You should know now. No, they elected him again. I was at my preacher buddy Joel's house that night. That was a bad night. And look, the guy that we run against him, just like always, weak, might as well be a Democrat. At least he wasn't an Islamist, though. He's just a Mormon. I totally disagree with what they believe, too. But they're not Muslims that want to take over the world and kill all of us. And they're telling you that right to your face. I don't know why people won't listen. I said that night, now they've cemented that decision. I didn't think Donald Trump was a good idea, because he's been a Democrat his whole life. He's pretty much liberal on most things. Not a conservative. He's not today. He's not a conservative. But he loves America. He knows our politicians have been selling us down the river for decades. he wants America to succeed, I can get on board with that. And I did. So I voted for him the next time. I voted third party the other time. I was just like, that ain't nobody I can vote for. I can vote for Hillary or one of Hillary's friends. That they all go to each other's weddings and stuff. Well, he's proved himself to not just be worthy, but to be the man for the time. Right now, you see, they put him out. They cheated him out of office, and thought they were doing something good. Well, it just made him come back even stronger when he came back. But in the meantime, we had Joe Biden, who was just literally a puppet, like literally a meat puppet. Like he couldn't even think for himself. He couldn't even run. They just installed him and then just used him like a meat puppet to do Barack Obama's bidding. And Barack Obama, it ain't Barack Obama's bidding either. There's people way over Barack Obama running this show. But Barack Obama's kind of pulling the string. Like he said, if I could have a third term just with somebody else and I just run the show from behind the scenes, well, come on, y'all. Guess who? We'll circle around. Guess who stopped us from going to space? Guess who was running for office and said, I would never stop the space program. I think we spent too much money on it, but I would never stop the space program. Just like he said he'd never do all kinds of other things that he did. Guess who stopped the space program? BO. Body odor. B.O. Obama. Barack Hussein. He stopped us from going to space. He's the one that did that. We just quit. We had to hitch a ride with the Russians, pay them billions of dollars to fly us to the space station so we could at least just do that. So we hadn't been going to space, y'all. We hadn't been doing no exploration. And here we are now with Donald Trump as president and pushing going back to space and going to the moon and getting set up to go to Mars and go to other planets. I heard some people saying, is this not like the Tower of Babel? I don't think so. God never told us not to explore. He told us to go and fill the earth. Guess what that requires? Exploring, going, seeking, moving out into different areas. The Tower of Babel was about everyone staying in one place, working together to be God. They weren't building a temple to get up to reach God. They were trying to be God. And along with that comes, it said they didn't build with hewn stone, because stone, is made by God. Every little pebble is different. Just like our fingerprints, as different as we are as individuals. You look at people, they're stones. You look at what communists try to do to people is turn them into bricks. You pull a brick out, you put another brick in. You're just bricks in a wall. You're just cogs in a machine. That brick died, pull him out, put another brick in. That brick can't do the job anymore, pull him out. Throw that brick in the junk pile over there. You can't do that with a stone. You gotta hew a stone to get it to fit, because it's individual. It's just it won't fit perfectly. God made us to be individuals, not bricks. He made us to be stones, not bricks. And that's part of the story of the Tower of Babel. They were trying to make bricks out of people. Communism. This stuff ain't new, y'all. None of it's new. New age ain't new. It's very old. So he stopped us from going to space. Donald Trump has now got us going back to space. And this is the first launch. And it's been put off and put off and put off. Because if I reckon now, if there's a rain cloud, there's I don't know, a cloud. If there's a drop, somebody feels a drop out of the sky, we can't go. But on the other hand, hey, y'all be safe. Y'all be safe. There's people. That's people with families and loved ones on that thing. So by all means, be careful. It seems a little funny though. But hey, I'm not a daggum rocket scientist. I don't know. They know a lot more than I do. So I'm gonna you know. So this is a bigger deal than just a rocket took off. This is turning in a different direction. Our whole country's turned around, and people were afraid to even say anything against transgenderism. I mean, literal mental issues, and people are proclaiming it as good. Romans 1 tells you about this day that we're going to live in, where good will be called bad, and evil good, and good evil, and sour will be called sweet. And we're here. And I think Jesus is close at hand, but I don't know God's timing. So, I'm going to leave that to him. I'm just going to tell y'all, be prepared. Keep right with the Lord. Because tomorrow might be the end of time. Tomorrow, and it's not the end of time. The end of days is not the end of time. It's the end of this age, and there's a whole Bible study there. But what we call the end times, your end time, your last day might be tonight, right now. You might not get the next breath. I know this personally. You're not guaranteed one more breath, much less tomorrow. So if you've been putting off getting right with the Lord, get right with the Lord. He will give you discernment. If you could not see who Barack Obama was at the time, and if you are still kind of dragging along in this stuff, and you're not seeing things ain't right, then you're lacking discernment. I'm not an expert on everything, but the Lord's given me some discernment. If you need discernment, you're like, I didn't know any of this stuff. I think this guy's lying. Whatever. Seek out the Lord. Because if you get right with the Lord, he will give you discernment, and you will start to understand things that you didn't understand before. If you read the Bible and it sounds like gibberish to you, you don't have discernment. You don't have the Holy Spirit of the Lord living within you. If it's just gibberish, get a translation that's not as hard as the King James. I get it. It's Old English. It's a little hard. I don't have no problem with it. Not no more. I remember having a problem with it. But hey, there's the English Standard Version. There's New King James. That's a little easier. English Standard's pretty easy to read. There's don't be going to get the Queen James now, because there's some apostates out there calling themselves Bible writers. But get you a little bit easier to read text. Hey man, we've got all kinds of stuff now. You can Google a verse. What does this mean? And it will walk you through it. There, at our fingertips. Knowledge is at our fingertips. Now you need to go deeper than that. You need to seek out, is that true? Because this computer can lie to you. Is it true? Does it sound true? Does it seem true? If you start getting that discernment, you'll start to weed these things out. These preachers that are lying to you and telling you, that's all about you living your best life now. No, it ain't. It's about you living with Christ in eternity. Right now, you might be having all kind of trouble. I am. And I have all kind of trouble. Jesus said you're going to have trouble on this earth. So the rain's going to fall on the good and the evil. Matter of fact, if the world hates you, if you love me, they're going to hate you. So don't think being a Christian is a perfect life or anything. It makes some things harder. But it's worth it. It is worth it, y'all. So this is the point of this channel. 3 people might see this. Who knows? Maybe some more people will see it. Maybe one person will see it and they'll say, you know what, you need to watch this. This guy's at least telling the truth as he sees it. We turned a little corner here. We're moving in the right direction. Can we hold on to that? Can we continue that? The other side ain't giving up, y'all. They are demonic. The devil never quits. He never gives up. He's never satisfied with status quo. He's never satisfied with just winning. He always pushes too far. But he wins a lot. And that's just this earth. That's just how it is until Jesus returns. But see the good things that are going on. Acknowledge them. Give credit where credit is due. Donald Trump deserves a giant, enormous amount of credit, y'all. We would not be here if it was not for that dude. He's just strong enough to be like me and say, I just don't care what they think. Okay, whatever. I'm just going to keep doing what I think is the right thing. I'm going to keep reading the Bible. I'm going to keep listening. I'm going to keep reading the Constitution and the Bible, and I'm going to do with them things, especially where they align, which they do a lot. Because them guys were on to something. So, see what's good. Give credit where credit's due. Marco Rubio's doing a great job, y'all. Great job. Hey, Vance, JD Vance is doing a great job, y'all. There's a lot of people out there doing great jobs. They're following leadership. Donald Trump is leading. We haven't had a leader. We sure didn't the last 4 years. If you disagree, drop a comment below. If you can't discuss things like a human being, I will ignore you and or block you. But if you can say, I just disagree, here's why, and actually give reasons, I will listen and I'll talk to you. So do that. So y'all, I'm bounce out of here and leave you with that. And spaceship took off. And pray for them people that's in space. And I'll see y'all back next time at DannyLink's Calling. And I don't think this was going on Bulldog Smith Farms, but sometimes it does. So keep your powder dry, keep your blade sharp, because we are living in some perilous times, y'all. So just be prepared. Be a Boy Scout. And I will see you back next time.